Pure XS has something fantastic about it, but also something I don't like, and I'll talk about both in this video. So I've had Paco Rabanne Pure XS for a few years now, and I always wanted to do a review of this sexy thing, and now's the time. I will share my thoughts on what Pure XS smells like, its performance, usage, mass appeal and more. And I also share my thoughts on some of the alternatives to it. Before I begin, let me know in the comments what you think of Paco Rabanne Pure XS, and please do drop a like on this video and make sure you subscribe. Some of the notes in Paco Rabanne Pure XS are sugar, vanilla, liquor, myrrh, plant juice, cinnamon, ginger, musk, thyme and leather. This really doesn't waste any time, and as soon as you spray it on, you get a lot of different notes all at once. In a way, the opening of Pure XS is almost like the dry down of a lot of other scents with how busy it is. And honestly, it's hard for me to pick out every single note in this. It's so busy and so rich straight away. But what I do pick up right away is the cinnamon and ginger combo, which gives it this intense spiciness. At first, it feels like something sort of a spicy fresh, but that quickly changes into something that's a bit spicy warm instead. And in less than a minute, in comes this sweetness that, at least to me, is so clearly sugary. I do have other fragrances with a sugar note in them, but I do find that how it's used here is one of the most sugary sweet ones. I think they managed to replicate something sugary so well. So the opening like a mix of spicy freshness and warmth, that's followed by a sugary kind of sweetness, and it really doesn't stop there. This thing unfolds so fast, and soon after it gets even richer and even more nuanced with an aromatic and almost sort of a green scent. This part is definitely not as intense as the rest of the notes, but it does add a bit of nuance to the otherwise quite spicy and sweet blend. The more it dries down, the more I'm getting this smooth vanilla, and the warmer and more sort of amber it gets. To me, the mist is where I'm getting a prominent dose of vanilla, and the whole thing is almost sort of a fizzy and sparkling, thanks to the sugary and spiciness of it all. It's actually a bit hard to explain the sort of a fizziness of it, but I like it a lot. The dry down is where things change even more, and to me, it's pretty much all about a prominent dose of vanilla with a boozy feel to it, and the whole thing still being intensely sort of a sugary sweet and a bit ambery. The very final part of the dry down is where a bit of woodiness comes in and finally sort of brings some balance to it all. But it's a soft woodiness that barely manages to cut through the otherwise sort of a sugary sweet vanilla dominant dry down. Sweet vanillic, a bit boozy and a bit ambery. I know some feel this is a very simple kind of scent, but I actually disagree at least a little bit about that. But I do understand why some might feel it's a linear scent, because it's basically loaded, absolutely loaded from the get-go, and it's sugary sweet almost all the way through. But I do find that it changes several times from the opening through to the dry down. So let's talk a bit about the vibe of Paco Rabanne Pure XS. This is pretty much all about a sexy, fun and flirty vibe. Sweet, fun and flirty for sure. So what about compliments and mass appeal? Paco Rabanne Pure XS is definitely a mass appealing compliment getter. Sure, there are those who don't enjoy sweet scents, but most will definitely enjoy getting whiff of it, especially once this goes into the mid and dry down. When it comes to performance, this performs intensely, at least on my skin, for the first few hours, and then slowly starts to sit closer. One spray on my hand will be oozing in a very noticeable way for a few hours, and a few sprays will definitely be something people can pick up. But that initial scent cloud does get smaller after that. So projection definitely approved, at least for the first few hours. Then it does start to sit a bit closer. Longevity is pretty good. I would, however, not call Pure XS a beast mode fragrance, simply because it's, at least on my skin, not a room filler, and the intensity of it is not something, at least on my skin, that lasts a long time. So when it comes to seasons and occasions, this is definitely a sweet scent that's a bit warm, and it does lean more towards fall, winter and spring. But I do recommend spraying a bit less if you try it out when it's a bit warm outside. Like always, experiment with how it develops on your skin by spraying a few sprays and see what it smells like, and basically take it from there. As for occasions, I do think Pure XS leans more towards going out or going on a date. Pure XS, to me at least, is not a good choice as an everyday kind of fragrance. I do prefer more balanced scents for everyday use, but like always, wear what makes you feel good. So who's Paco Rabanne Pure XS for? Please go back to the section where I describe in more detail what it smells like to see if it's something for you or not. But I think the main two things to keep in mind is that this is intensely sugary, sweet and vanillic. It's not just sweet, it's sweet in a sort of a sugar way. So even if you're into sweet scents, you might not like the sweetness of it. But enjoying sweet scents is pretty much a must. And it has a very prominent dose of vanilla, so you probably need to enjoy that in order to enjoy Pure XS. It also has this noticeable booziness in the dry down. So if vanillic, sugary sweet and a bit boozy sounds like something you might enjoy, then yeah, this might be something for you. If not, definitely stay away and don't even think about Pure XS if you're not into sweet scents. My alternatives are mostly going to be other sweet vanilla focus scents. Invictus Victory is a scent a lot of people feel is sort of a somewhat similar to it, but while there are some similarities, the spiciness of it, at least to me, is not the same, and it definitely does not have the same sort of a sugary sweetness that XS has. But I think it's a great alternative that's focused on vanilla and sweetness with a noticeable dose of spiciness. Now, staying within that line, Invictus Victory Elixir is an absolute banger. It's a bit different for sure, but it's so good. My next alternative is going to be another intensely sweet fragrance that's focused on vanilla, and it's Scandal EDT. It has a more caramel-like sweetness to it, and it doesn't have that sort of a sugary sweetness of Pure XS, but it's a great scent for someone who loves very sweet scents. This smells great, but I do lean a bit more towards Scandal Parfum. But the reason why I'm recommending Scandal EDT as an alternative and not the Parfum is simply because this is more intensely sweet. Next alternative is Armani Stronger With You Intensely. It also has a bit of a sort of a caramel-like sweetness to it, but I do not feel intensely is the same as Scandal, and it's definitely a more spicy, intense kind of vanilla. Great scent though, and a wicked compliment getter. Now, I could go on and on when it comes to sweet vanilla fragrances because there are quite a few of them out there, and these are just some of them. But I do want to say that none of these have the same sort of a sugary sweetness to them, and that is actually what makes Pure XS a bit unique. I know some feel it's an extremely sort of a generic sweet scent, but I do not have anything else with the same sort of a sugary sweetness. So how am I going to rate Paco Rabanne Pure XS? Someone will probably disagree with me on this, but I think Pure XS does have something unique to it. I absolutely love the scent of vanilla and sweet scents, and I have a ton of them, but I do not have anything else with the same sort of sugary sweetness. And it's really that thing together with the sort of a contrast within the scent that I think makes this at least a little bit unique. Performance is good, and even though the projection gets a bit closer after a while, the intensity of it, at least when I spray it on and for like a few hours, is definitely a good thing. So I like it for sure, and I do enjoy that sugary sweetness a lot. But at the same time, it's so easy for me to overdose on it. And what I mean with that is that while I absolutely love using it, I rarely use it 2 days in a row. It's so intensely sweet in its sort of a unique way that I often feel I need a break from it after using it. This was a tough one to rate, but Paco Rabanne Pure XS gets a 7 from me. Now that's a strong 7, sort of a bordering on 7.5. Like this video, I really appreciate it, and make sure you subscribe. But before I forget, in the beginning of this video, I said I would share something I really dislike about Pure XS. And I mean, come on, look at this. The bottle is absolutely, it doesn't even go all the way to the side. So spraying this is not a nightmare, but I mean, come on, what is this?